Hey there, and welcome back to Reddsparks Crypto Blog for your crypto and Cardano news. I wasn't sure about making a video today, but I thought I'd go ahead and make one, and I'll have a bit of fun with it, as you'll see later on. But let's start, as we always do, by taking a quick look at the crypto charts. Bitcoin is below 48k. It did pop back up above 48k early on today, but it seems to have dipped again. Overall, in the last 24 hours, it's doing better than it was. I know there's a lot of panic in the last few days, but I think Michael Saylor came to the rescue yet again, and it's back up again above 47k. We'll see what happens in the new year in a couple of hours' time. Who knows? But generally, the picture of the last 7 days has been heavy losses. So 6% down for Bitcoin, 8% for Ethereum, 8% for Solana, 8.5% for Cardano, XRP with 15.5%, and Avalanche with 12.2%. So not a pretty picture. It's probably end of year selling off for, I don't know, tax purposes and so on. And the question is, what's going to happen in the new year, which I'll cover in the next segment. Any bright spots? I guess Algorand, good old Algorand, that's been doing quite well. So it's up 20% in the last 7 days. That had been stagnating for a little while, so it's good to see that now increasing. Poor old Litecoin beneath it. As you know, I used to hold Litecoin a while back. I'm glad I exited. It's just languishing and it's getting further and further down. So I'm not sure. I'm quite worried about Litecoin's future, next year. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Let's move on to the news. Bitcoin has risen 7 to 36% in the first week of January each year since 2018. So somebody on Twitter pointed out that for the past 4 years straight, Bitcoin has enjoyed positive returns in the first week of January, ranging from 7% to 36% between 2018 and 2021. And we see those numbers there. So in 2018, the very first week of January, it went up 18%. Following year, 7%. Following year, 13%. And then this year, 36%. This is of particular interest to me, as I have the hunch that what's going to happen at the start of the new financial year, a lot of investment firms will be piling back into crypto. So I was expecting towards the end of this year for Bitcoin to take a dip as people cash out for tax purposes, and then or to lock in gains or whatever, and the start of next year that they would also pile back in. And if you are going to get back in to the crypto market next year, then really you want to do it as soon as possible before others come in and start pumping up the price. I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if we start to see a pump on New Year's Day. Don't hold me to it, but that's my secret little hope, that come the stroke of midnight, a minute in, we're going to see a big pump in Bitcoin. We shall see. But generally, if I had to take a guess what's going to happen in January, and obviously my guesses are normally wrong, so take it with a pinch of salt. But I think that January should be a good month. I could see a bit more selling happening. So if I think about my own tax situation, I don't want to sell anything more this year because I've just worked out all my taxes. I don't want to mess it up. So at the start of next year, if I was going to sell, that's when I would actually sell and clear up all my tax positions, and also withdraw funds to actually pay the tax bill, things like that. So there's a chance that in January that there might be a dip, but overall I expect that we'll end January on a high. And again, this is pure hopium, but I'm hoping the first quarter of next year is just going to be incredible. And it should time it perfectly with Cardano, the dApps on Cardano also coming out. And so that should be great timing for Cardano. If that doesn't happen, then I hope at least we're just treading water. I hope we're not going down in price and we're at least the levels we're at now. Something reassuring is that every time Bitcoin goes down to the 47k-ish mark, Michael Saylor is stepping in to buy more Bitcoin. And if it's not Michael Saylor, it's El Salvador. So 47k might be seen as a sort of a new bottom. I'm not saying it can't go below that, but if investors know that there are going to be countries and companies always stepping in at these levels, then others will also start stepping in at these levels because they don't want to miss the bottom. But again, I'm not a financial analyst, and I don't often get my predictions right in the short term, so take it all with a pinch of salt. Polygon upgrade quietly fixes bug that put $24 billion of Matic at risk. So another month, another hack that we hear about. This time it's on the Polygon network. Ethereum-based layer 2 scaling network Polygon has quietly fixed vulnerability that put almost $24 billion worth of its native token Matic at risk. According to a Wednesday blog post from Polygon, the critical vulnerability in the network's proof-of-stake Genesis contract was first highlighted by two white hat hackers on December the 3rd and December the 4th via blockchain security and bug bounty hosting platform Immunify. So that's a incentive for white hat hackers such as Leon Spacewalker here, who was the first to report on the security hold on December the 3rd. So he gets $2.2 million worth of stable coins. And a second unnamed hacker referred to as White Hat 2 will receive 500,000 Matic, $1.27 million from Polygon. This is a good idea, I think, this Immunify idea, incentivizing hackers to find bugs. I think this is quite a useful scheme because you're never going to always get every single bug prior to launch. So having white hat hackers incentivized to find those bugs for you is always a good thing, but it does beg the question, can you be doing more prior to launch to try and reduce the risk of these bugs? And the only thing I can think of, going back to my last video, is really formal verification. So I'm sure Polygon got audited by some of the best auditors out there. But there's only so much you can do when you're writing in Solidity, and Solidity allows you so many different variations and so many different ways of handling your product. Whereas when you're writing in Haskell, where the problem set is far more limited to begin with, you're much more constrained in what you can and can't do. And then on top of that, you got formal verification, such as by runtime verification, where they mathematically prove out that your code can only do certain actions and not other actions. I'm kind of simplifying it grossly there, but that's kind of the gist of it. That can only help reduce the risk of these types of bugs happening. Again, I don't want to go out there and say it'll eliminate it, but really Cardano's approach is really doing as much as it can to really reduce the risk of these types of bugs prior to launching. Now, Polygon is a sidechain, it's not a dApp, so I want to point out that differentiation. So this will be, something like Milkometer rather, having a bug after being launched. So hopefully Milkometer are also going through a very thorough audit process. On the bright side, it's good that they caught this bug early before anybody lost any money, and they managed to quietly upgrade it, and then they announced it. So that's good for Polygon, and I don't think it's done any harm to their price. Shanghai includes Metaverse in its development plan. So I thought this was very bullish news for the NFT/Metaverse space. Shanghai, China's most crowded city, and also one of the most modern and technologically advanced cities, I believe, in China, is looking for ways to use a metaverse in public services over the next 5 years. By the way, I found this quite interesting. This is the Globalization and World Cities Research Network, where they categorize cities as Alpha++ or Alpha Plus in terms of the advancements of the city. So Alpha level cities are linked to major economic states and regions and into the world economy, where Alpha++ are cities most integrated with the global economy, London and New York, the two cities I have lived in, and Alpha+. Alpha+ cities are highly integrated cities filling advanced services need. So you see Beijing's up there, Hong Kong is up there, and Shanghai is up there as well. So 3 Chinese cities all in that sort of very top tier of cities. Dubai, Paris, Singapore, and Tokyo. Yep, that all makes sense to me. But I thought this was quite interesting. I hadn't actually come across this before until I just Googled this for this article. But yeah, so Shanghai is a leading city in China. And going back to the article, according to a CNBC report, the paper call for promoting the metaverse's use in public services business offices, social leisure, industrial manufacturing, production safety, and electronic games. So that's quite a wide range of use cases there. I'll come back to that in a second. The Commission plans to encourage further study and development of underlying technologies such as sensors, real-time interactions, and blockchain technology. China's interest in new technology has been unwavering in recent years, and its efforts to establish a central bank digital currency and its use of digital biometric hardware wallets for the virtual yuan have cemented it as a leader in the issuance of a CBDC. So this is really bullish news. This article is very bullish news for the metaverse, for NFTs, but really more so the broader metaverse play. The fact that they are seeing its value in a wide range of use cases says a lot. So they are, at least, well, Shanghai at least, is imagining that they could have an alternative virtual life happening online, where a lot of these services that you interact with on a day-to-day basis, that all takes place online. And that could be a solution to the fact that Shanghai is a very highly populated city, and they are looking for ways to gain more efficiency and handle a large amount of people. And it actually makes sense. It makes sense when you've got cities that are growing bigger and bigger. So predictions are more and more people are going to live in cities. So the idea of mega cities is a thing. It's a long-term trend of cities just becoming bigger and bigger. So the biggest cities in the world right now that we have, such as Hong Kong and Shanghai, they're going to be quite commonplace in the future. You're just going to get more and more big cities like that. And so Shanghai are thinking ahead, and they're saying, wait, we could alleviate a lot of the pressure on our services by going virtual, by going into the metaverse. I think this is going to turn on a light bulb for a lot of other cities, particularly those in the US. They don't want to get left behind by China, and China are going to demonstrate the value of the metaverse here. So I was kind of somewhat bullish about the metaverse previously. I'm actually now more bullish than ever about the metaverse. That's not to say I'm bullish about NFT tokens. I'll have to pick and choose which ones I think will still be around. I'm definitely not a fan of pictures of rocks going for thousands of pounds. But I would say the metaverse space is definitely worth investigating for 2022. Whether that's something like Sand or Mana or Cardano's Pavia, I don't know yet. But the idea that we're going to have more and more services happening online, public services, I'm on board with that. I can now visualize. After reading this article, I can now visualize that. So I think it's a very, very interesting time. And we'll see what response other cities in the world give to this type of report, and whether they start exploring the metaverse, particularly Miami and New York. I'd be very interested to see what their take on the metaverse is. Moving on to Cardano news. So we had the Cardano end of year 360 presentation yesterday. There wasn't anything new really in this. It was just a look back over the year and some well-deserved credit to IOHK for all that they've done. And so you had various people from IOHK coming on and talking about what they felt that was a high point of the year. Some of the things I took away from it, one was a really interesting phrase that Charles used, which is, we're beginning to see a large decentralized government forming on top of Cardano. So I thought that was a great phrase, and it just brought to mind the idea that a new form of governance and government is crystallizing on top of the Cardano network and sort of embedding itself. And that's something that you don't hear other blockchains talk about, and that's something that's going to really set Cardano up in the future for being a truly decentralized blockchain platform. Other than that, it was all the usual things that we've heard before, so I'm not going to really go through it all. But there's been a lot of great progress this year. I guess if I had to say what was a highlight of the Cardano year for me, it would actually be Sunday Swap releasing their testnet and it going well, and there not being a concurrency issue. Why is that the highlight of the year for me and not the Shelley launch? Well, that's because when Shelley launched, I was paying attention to the words that were being said, and I I picked up on the fact that the PAB wasn't going to be ready, and I suspected that we're going to have delays before we actually have a live dApp on mainnet. And then on top of that, when I looked into the Lobster challenge, and I realized that this basically required coding skills or techie skills to actually participate in the Lobster challenge. So I knew even more that, okay, there's still a long way to go before we have working dApps running on mainnet. And then that whole concurrency FUD happened, and I knew we'd get through it, but there was always that worry at the back of my mind where, what if, we needed somebody just to prove it out. And we've heard all the words, we heard all the theory, we just needed it to see it for real. And so that's why Sunday Swap launching on the testnet, showing that concurrency was not an issue, putting that to bed once and for all through actions, not just words, that was a huge relief for me. And from here on, I'm just hugely confident about where we're going. So that was probably the highlight of my year. Let me know in the comments what the highlight of the year was for you. Which brings me on to the Cardano Person of the Year award. This is an idea that I've had for all of 10 minutes, literally, and I put together this very nice looking clip art to commemorate who I think has done the most for the Cardano ecosystem this year. Purely subjective, of course, but I thought it'd be a bit of fun, and who knows, perhaps I'll repeat it next year. In fact, I got the idea of doing it a bit like the Oscars and having different categories, so perhaps the best stake pool operator, best YouTuber, and so on. But for now, I'll just start off with Cardano Person of the Year. And the nominees for Cardano Person of the Year 2021 are Pi Lanningham of Sunday Swap for putting to bed concurrency FUD once and for all, Sebastian Guillemot of DC Spark for launching the Commodore and bringing EVM to Cardano, Ada Whale for battling fraudsters on a daily basis, Charles Hoskinson for leading the way on everything, and Lars Bruns for training up the Plutus pioneers. And the award goes to Lars Bruns for training up the Plutus pioneers, and without whom we might not have a developer ecosystem. Bet you didn't see that one coming. This year, with the launch of Shelley, the development of the dApp ecosystem is crucial, and in order to do that, we needed to get the word out there about Plutus and get as many people trained up as possible. Pretty much every Cardano dApp development team right now will have been on Lars's Plutus Pioneer course. So hats off to Lars and the rest of his team for helping develop the first generation of Cardano developers. And thank you to you, the Cardano community. It's because of our passion and commitment to Cardano that it continues to grow and bring in new people despite all the FUD thrown at it this year. Next year should be an unstoppable year for Cardano, and I'm really looking forward to the multitude of dApps launching in Q1. If you like this video on the high quality Hollywood level audio and visuals, then please be sure to leave a thumbs up down below, consider subscribing, and follow me along on Twitter if you want to keep up to date on my daily ramblings. Other than that, I hope you all have a great day and a happy new year.